I never thought I'd be that wife. The one who checks phone records and hides recording devices around her own house. But here I was, sitting in my car outside a coffee shop, watching my husband Mark laugh with a woman who wasn't me. They sat close, too close. Her hand rested on his arm like it belonged there. I gripped my steering wheel until my knuckles turned white. We'd been married for 8 years. 8 years of building a life together, or so I thought. Mark was a lawyer, successful and charming. Everyone loved him. I loved him. But something had changed 3 months ago. He started working late, taking calls in the garage, and his smile never quite reached his eyes anymore. My gut told me something was wrong, but I ignored it. Until last week, when I found a receipt for jewelry I never received. That's when I knew. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't paranoid. Something was happening, and I needed proof. My name is Sarah Chun, and I'm a high school English teacher. I've always been practical, maybe too practical. My friends call me the planner, the organizer. I like things neat and predictable. Infidelity wasn't in my plan. That night I couldn't sleep. Mark came home at midnight, claiming a client dinner ran late. He kissed my forehead and went straight to shower. I lay there, staring at the ceiling, listening to the water run. My mind raced with questions I was too afraid to ask. What if I was wrong? What if I ruined everything over paranoia? But what if I was right? The next morning, I made a decision. I needed evidence before confronting him. I wasn't going to be gaslit or made to feel crazy. I remembered reading about voice-activated recorders online. Small devices that could hide anywhere. It felt wrong, invasive even. But staying in the dark felt worse. During my lunch break, I ordered 3 recorders. They'd arrive in 2 days. 2 days to prepare myself for whatever truth I'd discover. The recorders were tiny, smaller than a USB drive. I placed one in Mark's car, hidden under the passenger seat. Another went in his home office, tucked behind books he never read. The third I kept in my purse, just in case. My hands shook as I set them up. This wasn't me. I didn't spy on people. But I also didn't recognize my marriage anymore. Mark had become a stranger who slept beside me. That first day, I checked the recordings constantly. Nothing unusual. Just phone calls with clients, music in the car. I felt relief and disappointment mixed together. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe our marriage was fine, and I was destroying it with suspicion. But then, day 3 happened. I was grading papers when I decided to check the car recorder. Mark's voice came through clearly. I can't wait to see you tonight. She has a faculty meeting until 9. My heart stopped. A faculty meeting I'd mentioned just that morning. I played it again, hoping I'd heard wrong. But there it was, clear as day. Mark was planning to meet someone while I was at work. My hands trembled, so badly I nearly dropped my phone. Part of me wanted to confront him immediately, to scream and demand answers. But the logical part, the teacher part, knew I needed more. I needed to understand the full picture. Who was she? How long had this been going on? That evening, I went to my faculty meeting as planned. I smiled, took notes, participated in discussions about curriculum changes. Inside, I was dying. Every minute felt like an hour. When the meeting ended at 9:15, I drove home slowly. Mark's car was in the driveway. He was watching television, casual and relaxed. "How was the meeting?" he asked, not looking away from the screen. "Fine, I managed." "Long?" He nodded. "I ordered pizza. There's some left if you're hungry." So normal. So ordinary. Like he hadn't just spent the evening with another woman. I couldn't eat. I went upstairs, claiming exhaustion, and locked myself in our bathroom. Sitting on the cold tile floor, I retrieved the recorder from my purse and downloaded the office recordings. My heart pounded as I pressed play. At first, nothing. Then, around 8:30, I heard the front door open. Mark's voice, warm and affectionate in a way he hadn't spoken to me in months. "You made it!" A woman's laugh, light and familiar. Too familiar. "I can't stay long. I told David I was meeting a friend." David. My blood ran cold. I knew only one David in our circle. David Morrison, our neighbor from 3 houses down. The woman was Rebecca Morrison, his wife. Rebecca, who I'd had coffee with just last week. Rebecca, who'd sympathized about Mark working so much. Rebecca, who'd looked me in the eyes and lied. I listened to them talk, their voices intimate and easy. They'd been doing this for 6 months. 6 months of lies. 6 months. While I'd been planning our anniversary trip, they'd been planning secret meetings. While I'd been worrying about Mark's stress levels, he'd been stressed about hiding an affair. The recording continued. They talked about leaving their spouses, starting fresh. Rebecca worried about her kids. 2 boys I'd watched grow up. Mark assured her they'd figure it out together. Together. Like I didn't exist. Like our 8 years meant nothing. I wanted to scream, to break something, to make the pain outside match the pain inside. Instead, I sat silently, tears streaming down my face, listening to my husband plan a future without me. When the recording ended, I felt empty. Hollow. The man I'd loved, the man I'd trusted with everything, was a stranger. I washed my face, straightened my shoulders, and walked back to our bedroom. Mark was already asleep, snoring softly. I looked at him, really looked at him, and felt nothing but contempt. The next morning, I called in sick. I never called in sick. Mark seemed concerned, touching my forehead for fever. "You okay?" he asked. I wanted to laugh at the irony. Was I okay? My marriage was a lie, but sure I was fine. "Just a headache," I said. "I'll rest." He kissed my cheek. "Feel better?" "I have court all day, so I'll be late." Of course he would. After he left, I sat in the silence of our house. Our house. Except it didn't feel like ours anymore. It felt contaminated, tainted by betrayal. I needed a plan. Divorce was inevitable, but I wanted it on my terms. Mark was a lawyer. He knew every trick, every loophole. I needed ammunition. The recordings were good, but I needed more. I needed financial records, proof of how he'd spent money on her. I needed everything documented and organized. I opened my laptop and started digging. Our bank statements, credit card bills, everything I could access. What I found made me sick. Hundreds of dollars at restaurants I'd never been to. Hotel charges, jewelry purchases, all while he'd insisted we needed to budget carefully. "We should save for the future," he'd said just last month. Our future. What a joke. He'd spent over $15,000 on Rebecca in 6 months. 15,000. I made a spreadsheet documenting every suspicious charge. Dates, amounts, locations. I cross-referenced them with my calendar. Every business trip, every late night, it all lined up. He'd been methodical, careful. But not careful enough. I also noticed withdrawals. Cash, $500 at a time, every 2 weeks. What was he buying that required cash? I added it to my list of questions. By afternoon, I had a clear picture of betrayal. Financial infidelity, alongside emotional and physical. Mark hadn't just cheated. He'd stolen from our future, from the life we'd built. My headache was real now, pounding behind my eyes. I needed legal advice, but I couldn't ask anyone we knew. Mark had connections everywhere. I called my college roommate, Jennifer, who'd moved to Boston and become a divorce attorney. "Sarah, it's been forever. How are you?" Her cheerful voice made me want to cry. "I need help, Jen. Legal help." Her tone shifted immediately. "What's going on?" I told her everything. The recordings, the financial evidence, the betrayal. She listened without interrupting, her breathing the only sign she was still there. When I finished, she was quiet for a moment. "Sarah, you've done everything right. Document everything. Don't confront him yet. In cases like this, surprise is your advantage." She explained what I needed to do. Secure my own finances, copy all important documents, get tested for STDs, and consult a local attorney she trusted. "I'll send you a name. She's tough, discreet, and she doesn't lose." That afternoon, I opened a separate bank account, transferring half our savings. It was my right legally. I made copies of everything. Titles, deeds, insurance policies. The attorney, Margaret Walsh, met me the next day. Her office was downtown, modern and intimidating. She was in her 50s, sharp-eyed and direct. "Tell me everything," she said. I did. I played recordings, showed spreadsheets, handed over documents. She took notes, her expression neutral. When I finished, she leaned back in her chair. "You have an airtight case. With this evidence, we can push for a favorable settlement. Assets, possibly alimony depending on how vindictive you want to be." "I don't want to be vindictive," I said. "I just want out." She smiled, but it wasn't warm. "Honey, He stole from you. Lied to you. Planned to leave you. You have every right to take him to the cleaners. Maybe she was right. Maybe I deserve compensation for the pain. We discussed strategy. File for divorce. Present evidence. Negotiate settlement. She'd handle everything. One question, she said. Do you want to wait, gather more evidence, or file now? I thought about it. Every day I waited felt like drowning. File now. Margaret filed the papers on Friday. Mark would be served Monday at his office. I had the weekend to prepare myself. Saturday morning, Mark suggested breakfast out. You've seemed stressed lately, he said. Let's reconnect. The audacity was stunning. I agreed, pasting on a smile. We went to our favorite diner, the place where he proposed 9 years ago. We ordered pancakes and coffee, making small talk like strangers. Sarah, I know I've been distant, he said suddenly. Work has been crazy, but I want to make more time for us. Us. There was no us anymore. Just lies and recordings. That would be nice, I said, stirring my coffee. He reached across the table, taking my hand. His touch felt wrong, foreign. I love you. You know that, right? I looked into his eyes, searching for sincerity. All I saw was a liar. I know, I said. It wasn't an answer, but he didn't notice. That afternoon, he suggested a movie. We sat in the dark theater, and I felt completely alone. Sunday, I visited my parents. I hadn't told them anything yet. My mother sensed something immediately. Sarah, what's wrong? You look exhausted. I broke down. Told them everything, crying in my childhood kitchen while my father made tea. They were shocked, angry, supportive. That bastard, my father said, which was strong language for him. After everything you've done for him. My mother held me, rocking slightly. You're strong. You'll get through this. We're here for whatever you need. Their support meant everything. I wasn't alone in this. That night I returned home. Mark was watching football, drinking beer. Your parents okay? He asked. Fine, I said. I went to bed early, knowing tomorrow everything would change. Monday morning, I taught 3 classes, barely holding it together. At 11:30, my phone buzzed. Margaret, he's been served. I excused myself, went to the bathroom and threw up. This was real. There was no going back. By lunch, my phone was ringing. Mark, 15 missed calls. I didn't answer. Margaret had advised against speaking to him directly. Let him process. He'll be angry, probably try to manipulate you. Stay strong. At 3, he showed up at school. The secretary called my classroom. Mrs. Chun, your husband is here. He seems upset. I went to the office. Mark stood there, divorce papers in hand, his face red. Sarah, what the hell is this? I kept my voice calm, aware of the secretary watching. Not here, Mark. Then where? You won't answer my calls. My attorney will contact yours. His eyes widened. Your attorney? Sarah, can we please talk about this like adults? The irony of him asking for adult conversation was almost funny. There's nothing to talk about. It's over. Over. Just like that. After 8 years, you don't even give me a chance to explain. People were staring. Students walked past, curious. Mark, leave. We'll communicate through lawyers. He looked desperate now. Please, Sarah, don't do this. I turned and walked away, my heart pounding. Behind me, I heard him leave. That night, I stayed at my parents' house. Mark called 23 times. He sent texts, ranging from angry to apologetic to pleading. I blocked his number. Tuesday morning, Margaret called. His attorney reached out. Mark wants to talk, negotiate. No. Good. Let him sweat. We have leverage. Mark's attorney was someone he worked with, not a divorce specialist. Margaret said that was a mistake. He's emotional, not thinking clearly. We'll use that. Over the next week, Mark tried everything. He sent flowers to school. Showed up at my parents' house. Left notes on my car. All of it documented, photographed, saved. His desperation was revealing. He didn't want to lose me. He wanted to control the narrative. The following Monday, Rebecca's husband David called me. Sarah, we need to talk. We met at a coffee shop. David looked terrible, exhausted. I found out a week ago, he said. Rebecca confessed everything. We compared notes. Our timelines matched. 6 months of lies, secret meetings, stolen money. David was filing for divorce too. I want custody of my boys, he said. I'll use whatever evidence necessary. I gave him copies of my recordings. He gave me photos he'd found on Rebecca's phone. Pictures of her and Mark together, smiling happy. Looking at them hurt, but it also fueled my resolve. We agreed to support each other. 2 betrayed spouses against 2 cheaters. It felt good not being alone. Margaret used everything. The recordings, photos, financial evidence. She presented it all to Mark's attorney. Their response came quickly. Mark agreed to everything. Division of assets. He'd keep the house but buy out my equity. No alimony requested from either side. He's folding, Margaret said. Probably doesn't want this going to court, becoming public. I agreed to the terms. I didn't want a drawn-out battle. I wanted freedom. The divorce would be final in 3 months. 3 months until I could close this chapter. Meanwhile, I focused on healing. I started therapy, joined a yoga class, spent time with friends I'd neglected. My students noticed the change. Mrs. Chun, you seem different, one said. Happier? Was I happier? Not yet. But I was lighter, unburdened by lies. I was rediscovering who I was outside of Mark. Spring came, bringing new possibilities. I applied for a summer teaching program in Italy, something I'd always wanted to do. Mark would have said we couldn't afford it. Now, I didn't need his permission. I got accepted. 6 weeks in Florence, teaching English literature. It felt like a new beginning. Before I left, the divorce was finalized. I signed papers in Margaret's office, her assistant witnessing. Just like that, 8 years ended. How do you feel? Margaret asked. Free, I said. And I meant it. Rebecca and David's divorce was messy. Custody battles, asset fights. I stayed out of it, though David kept me updated. Mark tried reaching out once more, a long email about regret and mistakes. I deleted it without reading fully. Italy was magical. Old buildings, incredible food, students eager to learn. I made friends, explored cities, rediscovered joy. One evening, sitting in a cafe overlooking the Arno River, I realized I hadn't thought about Mark in days. That's when I knew I was healing. I met someone there. Antonio, a local art teacher. Nothing serious, just coffee and conversations. But it reminded me I was capable of connection, of feeling something other than betrayal. When I returned home, I moved into a small apartment downtown. Hardwood floors, big windows, space that was entirely mine. I decorated it exactly how I wanted. Bright colors, plants everywhere, bookshelves covering one wall. My sanctuary. Teaching fall semester felt different. I was more present, more engaged. My students responded to it. Mrs. Chun, you're like glowing this year, one said. I laughed. Maybe I was. 6 months post-divorce, I ran into Mark at a grocery store. He looked older, tired. Sarah, hi. Mark. We stood awkwardly by the produce section. How are you? He asked. Good. Really good. He nodded, shifting his weight. I'm glad. You look well. Thanks. Silence stretched between us. Sarah, I'm sorry. For everything. I was stupid and selfish. I looked at him, this man I'd once loved completely. I know. I lost the best thing I had. Yes, you did. No anger, no bitterness. Just truth. Rebecca and I didn't work out, he said. In case you wondered. I hadn't. I hope you find what you're looking for, Mark. I meant it. Not for him, but for me. Forgiveness wasn't about him deserving it. It was about me being free of resentment. We said goodbye. I finished my shopping, drove home, and didn't think about him again. A year after the divorce, I was promoted to department head. More responsibility, better pay, fulfillment. I traveled that summer. Greece, Spain, Portugal. Places I'd always wanted to see. I wasn't waiting for anyone's permission anymore. I'd learned something valuable. Betrayal had nearly destroyed me, but it also rebuilt me stronger. Dating was strange at first. I was cautious, maybe too cautious. But slowly, I learned to trust again. I met Brian at a bookstore. He was a journalist, funny and kind. We took things slow, building friendship before romance. He knew about Mark, about the divorce. That must have been hell, he said. It was, but I survived. More than survived. You thrived. Maybe I had. Brian was different. Honest, consistent. He didn't make promises he couldn't keep. We'd been dating 6 months when he met my parents. My mother pulled me aside. He's good for you. I can see it. I could too. 2 years after the divorce, I barely recognized my old life. That scared, suspicious woman hiding recorders seemed like someone else. I'd grown, changed, become someone I was proud of. The recordings were still saved on my computer. Sometimes I thought about deleting them, erasing that chapter completely. But they reminded me of my strength, of trusting my instincts when everyone said I was paranoid. I started a blog, writing about my experience. Not for revenge, but to help others going through similar situations. Trust your gut, I wrote. Document everything. You're not crazy. Women reached out, sharing their stories. I'd created a community, a support system. It felt purposeful. One woman, Emma, messaged me. Your story gave me courage. I found proof. I'm leaving. Helping her felt incredible. Turning my pain into someone else's strength. 3 years post-divorce, I was genuinely happy. I had work I loved, friends who supported me, a partner who respected me. I'd bought a small house with a garden. I spent weekends planting flowers and reading on my porch. Sometimes I thought about what my life would be if I'd never found out about Mark's affair. Still married, still unhappy, still ignorant. The truth had hurt, but ignorance would have killed me slowly. I was grateful for those recorders, for having proof when he inevitably would have denied everything. Brian proposed on a random Tuesday. No grand gesture, just us cooking dinner together. I love this, he said. Us. Our life. Me too. Marry me. I froze, wooden spoon mid-stir. What? Marry me. No pressure. But I love you. I want this forever. I thought about marriage, about vows and promises, about trust. Yes, I said. We got married at a small ceremony. Just family and close friends. Nothing elaborate, just meaningful. As I said my vows, I meant every word. This was different. This was real. My students threw me a surprise reception at school. Decorations, cake, genuine joy. Mrs. Chun, you deserve this, one said. I did. I really did. 4 years after my divorce from Mark, I'd built a life I loved. Not in spite of the betrayal, but through it. The pain had refined me, taught me what I deserved. I ran into Rebecca once. She looked away, ashamed. I didn't acknowledge her. She was irrelevant to my life now. David had full custody of his boys. He'd remarried too, to a woman who treated his kids well. We occasionally texted, 2 survivors who'd helped each other through hell. You doing okay? He'd message. Great. You? Same. We'd won. Not in court, though we'd done well there. We'd won by building better lives. My blog grew. I started speaking at events, sharing my story. You had evidence, someone asked. But what about people who don't? Trust yourself, I said. Evidence helps legally, but you know your truth. Don't let anyone convince you otherwise. 5 years out, Brian and I talked about kids. It terrified and excited me. What if I'm not good at it? I asked. You're an amazing teacher. You'll be an amazing mom. We started trying, and waiting, and hoping. Meanwhile, I kept teaching, kept writing, kept living fully. Mark's life hadn't gone well, I heard through mutual acquaintances. Career struggles, relationship failures. I felt no satisfaction in it, just sadness for wasted potential. 6 years after the divorce, I had twin girls. Sophia and Emma, named after my grandmother and the woman from my blog who'd found courage. Holding them, I felt overwhelming love and protectiveness. They'd know their worth. They'd never settle for lies. Motherhood was exhausting and beautiful. Brian was an equal partner, changing diapers and handling midnight feedings. This was partnership. This was love. When the twins were 6 months old, I returned to teaching part-time. My blog became a book. Trust Your Gut, a journey through betrayal to strength. It sold modestly but impacted people. That was enough. Speaking events increased. Women came, some with partners, seeking advice. How did you know when to give up? They'd ask. When staying hurt more than leaving. How did you trust again? Slowly, and with someone who showed up consistently. 7 years later, My life was unrecognizable from that day I'd sat in my car watching Mark with Rebecca. I'd been broken then. Now I was whole. The twins started preschool. I watched them run in, confident and happy. They'd grow up seeing a healthy relationship, knowing their worth. Last month, Mark sent a letter. Not email, actual mail. I debated reading it. Finally I did. Sarah, I know I have no right to contact you, but I wanted you to know I'm in therapy, working on myself. I destroyed the best thing in my life. I hope you're happy. You deserve it. I'm sorry for everything. I showed Brian. How do you feel? He asked. Nothing. Maybe a little sad for who he could have been. I didn't respond to the letter. There was nothing to say. That chapter was closed. My story wasn't about Mark's betrayal anymore. It was about my strength, about trusting myself, about rebuilding. The recordings were deleted years ago. I didn't need them. The lessons they taught me were enough. Trust your instincts. Document your truth. Don't accept less than you deserve. Walk away when necessary. Rebuild stronger. Looking back, I'm grateful. Not for the pain, but for discovering my strength. That scared woman, hiding recorders, had found her voice. She fought for herself when no one else would. She trusted herself when everyone said she was paranoid. She documented, prepared, and executed a plan. And she'd won. Not in court, though she'd done well there too. She'd won by refusing to accept lies, by demanding better, by building a life she loved. My daughters would know the story someday. How their mother had been knocked down but got back up. How she trusted herself and found happiness. I teach my students about courage in literature. But my real lesson comes from life. Courage isn't fearlessness. It's being terrified and doing it anyway. 8 years after hiding those recorders, I was happy. Truly, completely happy. And Mark, wherever he was, had no idea that his betrayal had set me free. Free to find real love, real partnership, real joy. The recordings had started everything. But I'd finished it. Stronger, wiser, and unbreakable.